And it comes down to this. So the biggest single failure, unexpected failure that we had was right at the moment of greatest success. So we built this thing, right? We built this A/B test. We defined the online testing environment. We did a project for Google, right? And they came up with Google Website Optimizer, which was a ripoff of our product, right? We thought they were going to kill us, but as it turns out, they validated the market. Right? We started convincing marketers they had to do multivariate testing, right? Targeted multivariate testing. They'd never done this before. Their boss had never done it. They never thought about doing this, but now they're doing it, and they did it because we introduced it to them. Grew the company to, I don't know, it was $15 million a year run rate. We sold it for $65 million to Omniture, and now it's a $100 million a year business. It's not huge by Valley standards, but it's a pretty nice, solid single double, considering the fact that we had gone from the stratosphere all the way to 2 inches from the ground and pulled it back out again. We felt pretty good about it. So the negotiation with the buying company was very aggressive. And the nice thing about it, and here's a bit of advice, it has nothing to do with partnership for you. If you have to sell your company, or if you want to sell your company, 2 things. Make sure you got 2 bidders, and never sell your company, right? You can allow somebody else to buy your company from you, but you never want to sell your company. So what we did is we went in right away and we said, this is a principled negotiation. We're going to take the deal that you offered, not a penny less, we're not going to ask for a penny more. But don't horse trade us, right? And this is not the way that the company that we were dealing with operated. They tried to do a little of this and a little of that and sort of negotiate it, and they felt that was sort of, they were due that, and we should give a little here and there, and it just really pissed them off that we didn't do it. So in the end, there was a little bit of a broken relationship. And by the way, I should say, Omniture is a terrific company, and Josh James is a great guy and did a fabulous job there, so I don't mean to demean him any, but this was an issue that we had. So Matthew was leading the negotiation, and Josh invited me out to Orem to meet with him, and he says, hey, listen, I don't mean to offend you or anything, but we're not really getting along with Matt. We'd like to ask you to run the whole thing. And I'm looking at him like, did you notice the name on my card? This is my brother you're talking about. And so I called him afterwards. I said, Matt, I need to tell you what just happened. And he goes, oh, terrific. I'll take it. I'll take the package. Get me out. I'll go do something else, and you go do this thing. And that was almost the end of our relationship. Because what happened was there was the appearance of manipulation, right? He got home and he thought about it, and his wife started talking to him about it, and that's always an issue. And he says, finally concluded that I took his job, right? So I ended up getting myself out of there, another 2 or 3 weeks later, but we didn't talk for 3 months. It almost never worked again because of this issue of trust. So trust is a very, very delicate and important thing. If you're going to do it, particularly if you're going to do the co-CEO thing, it cannot be overestimated. All right, so this is what we're up to now, and we're still, actually I'm doing okay. We're still in stealth. What I can tell you is what we've told other people, and that is that Bolt is a page sharing service. It is a content delivery network to allow people to copy, change, and forward pages. We think it's going to be much, much bigger than anything we've done before. We're having a ton of fun with it. This is our Pinsgauer. It's a 1973 Swiss troop mover that we tried to rent, couldn't rent, so we had to buy. And drove for $11,000, not that much money. Drove it down to South by Southwest a couple of weeks ago, and started trying to get ourselves. You guys mind? Try to get some attention for ourselves. So that's what we're doing now. And Matthew and I are doing it again. We did a couple of other things in between, which are fun to talk about, but it will take too long. And I can't tell you about that along the lines of what do you do after you've had a small but not quite big enough success, and you're wrestling with midlife crisis and wanting to get back to the world and haven't quite decided yet that you're going to help marketers again. Well, let's talk about this. We're starting this company. And the funny thing about getting older is that you trade some of your blind testosterone and naivete-driven optimism in for pragmatism and understanding. And so you get more fearful, right? At least that's what happened to us. I mean, not fearful enough, not like normal people, but we're more fearful. And so we start doing this thing, and we start, with the 10-hour days and the long weeks and all this stuff, and it becomes clear that Matthew's working harder than me. And that bugged him, and it bugged me. But the fact is, I'm the sales and marketing guy, and he is the product and technology guy. And when you're building software, there isn't a lot of selling you can do early on once you get through the fundraising. And so I was, trying to figure out how to be helpful. But this is a real stress point on the system. And I think it comes back to trust, of course, again. But what you have to remember is that there are times for each role. So the breakneck pace, the long days and every day a week happens for the programmers at the beginning. To some degree, it happens forever, but it flips pretty quickly as you start getting close to launch, which is what we're doing now. And then the gone every week stuff goes to the sales guy. So I would say you really have to understand, if you're splitting the company, which most people do, you do this, I do that, you have to understand that different people's times are going to happen at different times. And that's good, right? Balance each other off a bit. This is pretty new, so some of this is sort of drawing from past experiences. But the next thing I put in there was you got to push each other up. I think that again, as we get more mature and recognize our own ability to potentially fail, we need to keep propping each other up. You say, listen, you remember that time you did this? You remember that time you beat Steve Ballmer in a sales call? You can do that again. And I think that's very, very important. And it's a sensitive thing, more than you think, because you're always kind of wondering why you have to do that. Right? Aren't you supposed to be pulling me up now? But it's real, it happens, and as long as you do it, then I think it all works out. And this is the last and most important part. I'm old enough now that I can call the guys kids because they're half my age, and that's a lot of fun. So don't frighten in front of the kids. There is a difference between debate and fighting, right? Debate is polite. It may be intense. You may not back down. It may get slightly heated. But you got to watch that line, because as soon as it starts to turn into fighting, then it becomes destructive. So if you've done all the rest of the things, if you've tried the Triple India, now you're doing this co-founder, co-CEO thing, and you're balancing out, and your peers, and you're all this stuff. The last piece is make sure that you're polite for everybody else. Otherwise, it creates a destructive force. Yeah, this is funny. I don't know if you can read this, but I had this Cow Partnership Kept Us Alive, HPKUA. I have that on the bottom of each one of these slides. And I got 2 Ferraris on this one. In between selling the company and doing this company, we had a year and a half where we started 2 businesses. And Matthew, started one with me, and I started one with him. And each of us put $100,000 into the other's business, and both of us knew they were going to fail. So I don't know how that plays into any of this, but I think it's hard to overestimate the level of commitment to the other person if you really want to demonstrate the kind of trust. I think that it has taken us to do. I was thinking, how do you describe this? But it kind of comes down to, if your partner says, hey, we're in this barrel and we're going over the falls, you just hold your nose and go. You don't try to jump out. All right, this is my brother and my kids. I think if you do all these things, you're in pretty good shape. While you're deciding if you need a real co or just an employee, or if the person you're talking to is the right guy, you got to ask yourself, can I do these things? And are they going to do them for me? But ultimately, it just comes down to this. Trust them and do the things that are required to earn their trust.
Thank you very much.